This is Gary Geiman with the Dominate the Day podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to help you get 1% better in your business, provide clarity, and give you some ideas that will help you grow your business. If you're ready to dominate the day, let's go.
Dominate the day, that's what we're about to do. If you don't want to dominate, then this podcast ain't for you. But if you are, then keep listening, cause every single damn day, the mission is to dominate. You already know we're here to dominate the day. So if you want to dominate every day, then let's go, it's time to grow. This is another episode of Dominate the Day.
So what are some things that people listening can do to make sure that they're not underinsured or overpaying?
So to make sure you're not underinsured, that's kind of a loaded question, because the best thing to do is to, one, read your policy. But if you don't know about that, then you could go to another set of eyes. You could go to your own agent, but you need to go sit down. You need to review what's being excluded and what is excluded, because I mean, I'll give you an example. There's the easiest one I can think of. There's an advertising agency I'm about to pick up, and there's if you look at a policy, you have general liability, you have what's the next one? So you're going to get to personal injury and advertising injury, and that's like the fourth one, and that's like right on the deck page, boom, and it's usually insured for about $1 million. Which, if you're just doing pressure washing, that's fine. But it's personal injury and advertising injury, and this guy does advertising. And underneath of that, right underneath in the same box, it says ADV period EXE, which means advertising excluded. So all he does is advertising, and it's excluded.
So his whole business, he has no liability.
Correct. So I'm like, that's interesting. So I went to the exclusions, started reading.
And again, by the way, one of their customers ran a Super Bowl commercial that was dated 2 years ago.
Right. So he could be sued today. We're not going to mention names. No. So we get down. I start looking through the exclusions, and it says professional liability for advertisers excluded. So what they do, yet again, professional liability, that's excluded. So, okay, cool. So I go to the umbrella, which he carries, and the umbrella policy says excludes advertising professional liability. So everything this man does is excluded in 3 different parts of his policy. And he had no idea because he never read it. He just bought a piece of paper, and if he got sued,
he was checking a box.
Yeah, checking a box.
Got the insurance.
So if he gets sued for if he has something trademarked for his ad agency and he sees this guy doing the same thing, well, guess what? I'm calling my lawyer, and that guy's not going to have any coverage. If one of his clients, Super Bowl ad, that cost him $50,000 probably to run. If he's like, well, what the heck is that? I'm going to take you to court because you said you were going to help my image, and now you're making us look like idiots because it's 2 years old. Right. So that those coverages are important that you understand. So some really big ones: care, custody, and control in the home service is big. Professional liability, that's still pretty big. You should have some professional liability to a degree, because what that's saying is that what you are doing, what your operations are, that it's not going to come back. So the warranty thing, right? Mm-hmm. So if you say, what was your example again?
Dryer vent,
yeah. So he says the dryer vent's clean, and you supposedly cleaned it, and you checked it out, and you gave the check off on there, and you have a 3-year warranty on it, which, by the way, warranties might be excluded. But that's going to come back to your professional life. Like, you are an expert, a professional that was hired to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And your actions resulted in a house fire.
Yeah, a couple months later, that house fire happens. The fire department determines it happened because of a dryer vent. You don't get to go back and argue with the fire department. It's like, nah, bro, that's what happened. Yeah. And then now you're on the hook. Right. And then will your insurance pay or not?
The other big one that I see is completed operations. If you're doing any kind of subcontracting, this is really big, because your completed operations are going to be excluded for completed operations completed by others. So the way you cover your ass on that one is you make sure that you have a really good subcontractor agreement. You hire a lawyer for that. You let them write it up. And you need the correct additional insureds. Off the top of my head, I believe it's like CG003727, something like that. CG0010. Don't quote me, but I believe those are some of the ones that you'll want on there. And those are just verbiages and clauses that are basically going to transfer liability from you to them if anything goes wrong. So if they come after you, say, well, here's the documents, we're going to go after you, and we just transfer the liability. So a good agent's going to help you transfer liability, going to make sure your exclusions aren't going to cost you your business, and that, with us, we have a lot of buying power. Like I said, we're a national brokerage, so we can negotiate premiums pretty well as long as we put systems and controls into place. So a lot of times, like cyber is a big one, not for you guys, but cyber is big in just about any industry, honestly. If you have any customer records, you should have some sort of cyber. But a big thing is MFA, multi-factor authentication. And that's just where if you try to log into a system or a program and it's been idle for 3 days, it's going to send you a text. You just pop up, you hit it, or whatever, it gives you a code, put it in. And that's just saying that the end user is correct. Yeah. It's not a bad actor. It's not someone's social engineering. And social engineering is often excluded, by the way. But anyway, so as long as you can put things into place that are going to help the insurance company not lose, they're going to help you have lower premiums. So it's better to have a discord and a conversation. Like, I hate it when I go to people and I'm like, hey, what's your safety program look like? Like, oh, well, we meet once a week. What's that mean? What do you mean you meet once? Are you guys drinking water and just talking like what happened over the weekend? Or do you have like an agenda and you're going to talk about ladder safety for 30 minutes, and then next week you're going to talk about when you're on a roof, your harnessing system or something like that. They want something of substance. Like, you're going to be really well off if you put together a safety manual, if you do anything and everything in your power to help reduce losses, because you don't want to have losses. The insurance company don't want you to have losses, and the insurance company wants to insure reputable people, and that is how your premiums are controlled. And if you're in a work comp state, if you have employees, you need to get a return to work program. And what that is if an employee gets hurt and they can't do a physical labor for 2 to 3 weeks, they're going to be able to sit in an office and help you guys close deals, answer the phone, do something that they can get paid, because those type of losses is called an indemnity loss. And that is where the worker is going to recoup their working hour wages through your work comp policy, so that your insurance company is going to be paying them for X amount of time. Whereas if you can just put them in a seat and do something to pay them a wage, your insurance company is not going to have to worry about that, and they're going to be more likely to give you a better work comp rate. That's actually like a major requirement if you want to get into a good carrier. And I know a lot of you don't have that. If you guys have a guy like, oh man, I'm out a week, let's go find someone off the street real quick and replace them.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff there, but the main takeaway is control, read policies, and ask questions, and let other people look at it. You don't have to switch. Just let people. Like, we do due diligence reviews for people. Like, I'll tell you, my win rate is like 15%. So, and we can find fireable offenses, and some people are just like, I'm not gonna move. It's whatever, and it's really easy to move, by the way. But anyways, people will help you, because if I don't help you now and you don't switch, this thing about keeping data is you keep that relationship there, and when something happens 2 years down the road, you're gonna know to call me, or I'm gonna keep calling you. So that's you're my lead, and I'm not going to let up just because you don't move to me today. But if I find 10 things that are fireable offenses, I'm going to let you know about it and let you know that you probably should move. And I'm talking to Tony Brock, by the way. So
Tony Brock, he was worried that you were going to come to Smoke Justice Saturday night for dinner.
Was he?
Yeah, he's like, Tyler coming? I was like, no. Do you want him to come? He's like, I don't know.
Oh, Tony.
Tony's crushing it. So we'll wrap this up. We'll do this over 2 episodes for sure. But number one, for everybody listening, like, you can write policies in a lot of different states, right?
We can write them in all 48, essentially. Some might be a challenge, but I have peers that can help.
But if somebody reaches out to you, you can help them.
Yeah,
most likely.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is I'll include Tyler's information in the show notes. So if you want to get a hold of him, we'll put your email address and your phone number in there so they could reach out. I
can tell you roofers really good with, pressure washers we're good with, and junk removal, it's 50-50. I'm sorry.
Just depends on how long you've been in business, right?
Yeah, they're tough. They don't like to write. It's a lot of heavy auto stuff, which is kind of tough now.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're listening, you have some questions, you want to reach out, check the show notes. We'll include Tyler's information in there. Here's the thing. When you're in business, it's very important, obviously, to acquire customers. Like, that is how you become a business. But at the same time, as you're going through this customer acquisition process and you're growing revenue and you're becoming a business, you have to protect that revenue, and how you protect it is through insurance. You don't protect your revenue through insurance by hopping on a Facebook group and asking people what they use for insurance. I remember Tyler put out a post maybe a year or 2 years ago, and it related back to asking Facebook groups for questions about professional services. Don't ask legal questions. Don't ask tax questions. Don't ask insurance questions in a Facebook group, because 99.9% of people in those groups don't have the qualifications or the education to answer those questions. And most of them don't know what the hell they're talking about. I guarantee you 95% of the people listening to me have never been involved in a court case related to their business. I have. I've been involved in a lot. I used to work for a company. That's what we did. We sued the shit out of everybody. I understand how that is. And I'm probably more versed than most to give legal advice, but I can't give legal advice because I'm not a freaking attorney, right? Taxes. I paid a shit ton of taxes in my day. I don't know shit about taxes, nor do I want to know shit about taxes. I could tell you what my formations are for my companies and why they are based upon what I've been told, but I don't care. And anybody that acts like they know, they don't. The same thing with insurance. You get a lot of advice about insurance. And the one thing that I've learned watching Tyler over the past couple of years as he's merged, kind of maneuvered through the different understanding of how insurance works and what it's for. I had an understanding, definitely had an understanding, but I did not have the level of understanding that I should have even back before. Like, we were told we had to do a safety audit and a safety meeting. Do you remember that shit that we did? 27? Yeah. Like, we did one. It was like 2 or 3 hours. Like, I checked all the boxes. We did all the stuff. It was more than just saying, yeah, we had a safety meeting. But we probably should have been having that shit like weekly, right? Covering a lot of different things instead of like one every couple years for 4 or 5 hours. And knowing those things helps you become, number one, a better business owner, but number two, you become more attractive to an insurance company. It's like Tyler said, you have those systems in place, those processes in place, then they see you as a valid business, and then they want to insure you, which can not only save you money, but save you in the long run. Because the purpose of insurance is to have it in case you need it.
Yeah, and the other thing too, one more thing. So I remember we got a job down in Lexington, the apartment complex, and you're like, dude, I got to bump up our umbrella to $2 million because they're dumb. Like, I
was bitching, yeah.
So quick story. I'm actually working with a roofer who's going commercial, and he sent me a subcontractor agreement because like, dude, let me look at that. Let me see what we can do to help you not only meet those limits, but maybe I can negotiate, because I understand how they're just a company that their insurance agent told them to put all this on a paper and require it. Whereas I know what these actually mean, and we could probably get away with not having all of that in there, save you like $5,000. So he sends it to me, and he has to have $2 million general liability. Cool. He has to have a $5 million umbrella, and I was like, sheesh, that's really high. And he's like, yeah. He's like, what can we do? And I was like, okay. So I put an endorsement on his policy, and it's a per aggregate limit per location, just meaning that anywhere that he has a job at any time. So if he has 7 jobs going in the same day, same week, and they're all concurrent, if he has a loss on 3 of them, he has his full aggregate limits of his policy readily available for each location. Usually how insurance works, if you don't have that, is you have $2 million and you have to share it. Yeah. So if you have an aggregate limit per location or per project, that's going to be, you're not going to be spread out. It's going to be, you're going to have $5 million here, $5 million here, whatever your limits are. So I said, hey, go back and ask them if, because we have this, and I will tell them that, we only need to have a $2 million policy and a $2 million umbrella, and they approved it. And I think he saved like $8,000. It was like, it went from like $20,000 for the $5 million umbrella to $11,000. So saved him $8,000, and we were able to, to help his bottom line even further.
Which goes back to having an agent that you can trust, that will help you in business, almost as a partner, to where not just someone collecting a premium.
Yeah, if you don't see, if you pay more than $20,000 a year and you only see them one time a year, then you got a problem.
Right. They're there to collect their check.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, hey, thanks for hanging out, Tyler. Dominate Nation, another day of Dominate today. Check your freaking insurance policy. If you don't have one, you need to probably get one. Take a listen to the things that we talked about. Are you checking all those boxes? Are all of those things taken care of? Because I can tell you right now, if you're not, shit can happen. Shit can go sideways. You can lose your business. But here's the thing. There are people in place that can help you get to where you need to be so you can make sure that you're covered correctly, make sure that your business is protected, make sure you dominate the day.
Dominate the day, that's what we're about to do. If you don't wanna dominate, then this podcast ain't for you. But if you are, then keep listening, cause every single damn day, the mission is to dominate. You already know we're here to dominate the day. So if you wanna dominate every day, then let's go, it's time to grow. This is another episode of Dominate the Day.